Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. My name is Kenita Renee. If you didn't know, I make videos on lifestyle, acting, and faith, helping you reach your goals without stress, debt, or losing sight of yourself. So today I'm going to be answering the common question for actors: how do I find a monologue? So where do I go to get it? Let's get into it. What you want to do is decide whether or not you want to do dramatic or comedic role. Go with your strongest suit. If you've done videos in the past, if you've done some monologues, kind of take a poll, find out what people think was your stronger vein, and stay in your lane. If you're really good at comedy, stick to comedy and be the go-to person for that. If you're really good at drama, stick to drama and be the go-to person for that. I mean, as you advance in your career, you can switch it up. You don't want to be typecast, but definitely when you're getting your foot in the door, narrow in on one thing that you can do and do better than anybody else. I would say watch old movies. Never pick something that's like super recently came out and has like starring Viola Davis or Will Smith or Denzel Washington. Denzel Washington is super overdone because when you do people like that, people are really just amounting you to them. So especially if it's a very popular scene that was done or very like iconic line, you want to stay away from that, because what you'll do one of two things: you'll do it in your own strength, but people will only see the person who originally did it, or you'll end up doing it and looking like you're attempting to imitate the person who did it, and nobody wants to see, you know, the off-brand version. So that's a big thing I see a lot of actors do, and I hear a lot of casting directors complain about. So never do like a super popular scene, especially by, you know, one of the greats. Also, you can just do a Google search. You can search for monologues by gender, type, goes back to dramatic or comedic, length, all of that stuff. And all of those things, I wouldn't pick anything from the first page. You know how Google ranks by pages? Because if it's like right there at the top, more than likely everybody has seen it and everybody has done it. So I would like kind of take my time, stroll through, see if there's something that seems kind of like obscure, kind of hard to find, and I would go with that one because it's not going to be overdone. And people, again, back to the last point, aren't going to be thinking about the last person who did this piece and either was terrible or really good. The next thing I would say is to make sure that the monologue that you pick is not flat. You want to make sure that it has arcs. It has moments where your character can switch emotions. You don't want it to be just one note throughout. You don't want to just be super sad and super crying the entire time. You want there to be like a moment where there's a shift. Maybe she's crying about an event, but then she remembers like a good memory of that person she lost or something like that. But you want it to have space to kind of just like shift and flow very naturally, the same way we are in real life. We don't just want to cry in front of people. We usually try to stop the tears. We usually try to stop ourselves from crying, and yeah. So you want to do that to make sure you can grab and hold the attention, because you only have a few seconds, because the casting directors, they're in and out. They can tell from the very beginning whether or not they're going to stick around for the remainder of your monologue. And last but not least, I would say write your own. If you consider yourself a halfway decent writer, now if you've never written anything and you're like, nah, then don't do it. But definitely, if you consider yourself a writer, you've done short plays or poems or anything, you can definitely write your own monologue. And it will be so tailored to you because you're the one who wrote it, that you simply just cannot go wrong, especially if you know what it is that people are looking for in the monologue. You can make sure that that's in there. It can definitely should fit your character type. I forgot to mention that. So don't pick, if you're 16, don't pick a monologue with a 35-year-old woman, and vice versa. Do not attempt to be a 12-year-old girl if you're 45 years old. So that's very important. So that is all. I hope you guys found this information helpful, and I see you out there performing these monologues. See you next time.